The galaxy was quiet, but quietness often carried hidden storms. In the neutral star system, fleets from dozens of alien races gathered, their ships forming a glittering wall of light against the endless black. They were not here for war, not yet. They were here to meet the newest power in the galaxy. That power was called humanity. The aliens waited in silence, but silence was dangerous. Whispers spread between crews. Soldiers traded nervous looks. Diplomats pressed their claws, tendrils, or hands against trembling tables. No one liked waiting. Waiting meant thinking, and thinking meant fear. Rumors had carried across the stars faster than any ship. Tales of a human creation too large to name, a warship so massive that even the oldest empires doubted it could exist. Some called it a moving fortress. Some called it a weapon of extinction. And some simply called it the monster. The council chamber on the flagship burned with voices. "They are late," one alien hissed, his 4 eyes glowing with impatience. "They are testing us," another replied. "Humans always play strange games. Their silence is part of their weapon." "They are weak," a third ambassador snapped, though his tone betrayed doubt. "A new species, desperate to prove itself. They think one oversized ship will make us bow." The eldest diplomat raised his voice. "Then tell me this. If it is only a ship, why do all of you feel the cold in your bones?" Before anyone could answer, the cold became real. The fleets outside stirred as scanners screamed warnings. Something had entered the system. Something vast. At first, no one could see it. The object was too far, sliding slowly into view. Then, like a beast rising from deep water, its body emerged, mile after mile of blackened hull. Starlight bent around it. Even suns seemed smaller beside its frame. Gasps filled the chamber. The human dreadnought had arrived. It moved with terrifying grace, engines glowing faintly like the breath of a giant. Along its armored surface ran rivers of cold white light, sharp lines marking weapon batteries and hangar bays. Cannons larger than cruisers rotated lazily, tracking every alien ship in sight. Strange devices, unknown and untested, pulsed with hidden energy. Compared to it, every alien warship looked like a toy. Even the proud carriers of the oldest empires now seemed like fragile shells floating in the dark. The chamber fell into silence. Words became useless. One alien whispered anyway. "That is not a ship. That is a planet turned into steel." But it was worse. It was built not for survival but for domination. The dreadnought slowed as it neared orbit, casting its shadow across the fleets. Light disappeared behind it. The stars themselves looked dimmer. The galaxy felt smaller. Inside the chamber, panic trembled at the edges. "Why bring this here?" a voice cracked. "This is a peace summit." "Peace?" Another laughed bitterly. "No, this is their message. They speak without speaking." On the viewing screen, a signal blinked. The humans were reaching out. Every diplomat froze. For a heartbeat, static filled the air. Then, a voice came through, calm, steady, unshaken. "This is Earth's representative," the voice said. "Prepare to receive us." That was all. No threat, no anger, no demand. Yet the words echoed louder than any weapon. The dreadnought loomed behind them, its silence screaming. The aliens realized then that humans did not need to roar. They had built something so terrifying that silence itself was enough. The eldest diplomat closed his eyes, his voice almost a whisper. "If talks fail, none of us will leave alive." Out in the void, the dreadnought drifted, patient and unblinking. It looked eternal, like judgment carved into the stars. Every alien heart in the system felt the same truth. This was not just first contact. This was a warning. The chamber of the Alien Council was built to make anyone feel small. Its walls stretched high, carved from crystal that glowed with energy. Holographic banners of different empires floated in the air. The round table at the center was large enough for hundreds, yet now the room felt too tight, too heavy. The shadow of the human dreadnought still hung outside, pressing on every thought. Every window showed its black hull cutting through starlight, reminding them with each second humanity had arrived. Inside, fear turned into arguments. "This is madness," a lizard-skinned ambassador hissed, his tail slamming against the floor. "They did not come for talks. They came to show us their weapon." A winged diplomat spread her feathers wide in defiance. "And should we bow? No. We cannot let one species frighten the entire galaxy." "Do you not see?" another answered sharply, his tentacles curled in agitation. "They do not ask us to bow. They ask us to understand they cannot be ignored." The voices grew louder, overlapping, almost breaking into a storm. Some called for peace, some for defiance, some for war. But all of them spoke with fear behind their words. The eldest of the council raised his hand. His body was frail, but his eyes carried the weight of centuries. "Be still," he commanded. "Do not let your panic become their victory." Silence fell slowly, heavy and unwilling. The elder spoke again. "We knew humans were ambitious. We knew they were restless. But none of us expected this." He pointed toward the dreadnought outside. "That is not a ship of defense. It is not even a ship of empire. It is a statement written in steel." Holograms lit up above the table, projections from their scanners. The dreadnought's image rotated slowly, glowing with red highlights where weapons were detected. Rail cannons, missile silos, energy lances, each larger than anything the galaxy had seen. One section glowed brighter than the rest. "What is this?" the winged diplomat asked, narrowing her eyes. The technician explained with a trembling voice. "Our readings suggest a weapon powered by a collapsing star. If activated, it could erase an entire fleet in seconds." The chamber gasped. One ambassador shouted in disbelief. "Impossible! No race could build such a thing. The energy alone would." "Kill them?" the technician interrupted. "Perhaps, but humans are not afraid of cost. They are not afraid of sacrifice. This ship proves that." The words sank deep. Some diplomats lowered their heads. Others clenched their fists. All felt the same truth. Humanity was no longer a small race crawling at the edges of the galaxy. Humanity had become something else. Something dangerous. The council elder turned slowly, scanning every face. "So tell me, what do we do now? Do we resist? Do we submit? Or do we gamble that they built only one such monster?" The silence that followed was heavier than before. Finally, the lizard-skinned ambassador spoke. "If we resist, they will destroy us. If we submit, we will lose everything we fought for. The humans, they give us no choice." The winged diplomat's feathers trembled. Perhaps they are bluffing. Perhaps this dreadnought is not as strong as it looks. Her words drew bitter laughter from across the table. One old warrior leaned forward, his scarred face grim. "You think that shadow is bluff? Even if it never fires a single weapon, it has already won. Look at us. We tremble like hatchlings before it." The chamber quieted again. No one could argue. Above them, the hologram of the dreadnought continued to spin, each weapon marked in red. The diplomats stared at it, each mind running with the same fear. If this was their first meeting with humans, what would their second look like? Suddenly, the chamber's speakers crackled. A message had arrived. The humans were speaking again. Every diplomat froze as the voice filled the room. Calm, measured, unshaken. "We come to discuss the future," the human said. "But remember, Earth will not kneel. We will not surrender. Negotiations will happen on equal ground, or they will not happen at all." The message ended. No threats, no promises, only certainty. The elder closed his eyes. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but everyone heard it. "Now we see the truth. They do not come as guests. They come as equals or as conquerors." The chamber remained silent, each diplomat lost in thought. The shadow of the dreadnought outside seemed to grow longer, as if waiting for their answer. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy's rulers trembled. The alien fleets stood silent in the shadow of the human dreadnought. Engines hummed nervously. Shields shimmered in preparation, though no one dared to raise weapons. To fire first would mean destruction. To remain silent felt like suffocation. Inside the council chamber, every diplomat leaned forward as the signal returned. The humans were ready to speak again. The voice came, low and calm, cutting through the static like a blade. This is Earth's command. We will begin talks. The words were simple, but in that silence, they sounded like thunder. The chamber filled with whispers. They sound calm. Too calm. It is a trap. The elder of the council gestured for quiet. He knew. Calmness was not weakness. It was control. And the humans had control. A holographic link opened in the center of the chamber. Blue light formed the image of the human commander. He stood tall, his uniform black with silver marks of rank. His face was not angry, nor cruel. It was unreadable, like a wall that showed nothing. His eyes, however, burned with something far stronger than pride. Determination. Representatives of the galaxy, he began. We are here because you asked for us. You wanted to see humanity. Now you see us. You wanted to speak with humanity. Now you speak with us. His words were measured, his tone steady. Yet every alien felt the weight behind them. He spoke as though the dreadnought outside was his shadow, a reminder that his words carried fire behind them. One alien diplomat gathered the courage to speak. You come here with threats. How is this peace? You bring a weapon instead of goodwill. The human's eyes shifted toward him. Not anger, not even amusement, just focus. This ship, the commander said, is not a threat. It is a promise. Promise that Earth will never kneel. A promise that if peace fails, we will not be erased. You speak of goodwill, this is goodwill. We show you the truth before you decide how to deal with us. The chamber froze. It was the kind of answer no one had expected. The humans were not begging for a place in the galaxy. They were declaring it. Another ambassador shouted, trying to regain strength. And if we say no? If we deny you equal standing? The commander's expression never changed. His voice remained calm. Then you will still remember this meeting. And you will remember what you saw outside your windows. We will not beg for space in your councils. We will take our place among you. That is not a request. That is our future. Gasps filled the room. The arrogance. The boldness. But behind the shock was something worse. Fear that he might be right. For centuries, the council had decided which species rose and which species fell. They had broken empires with trade sanctions. They had crushed rebellions with fleets. But these humans, they spoke as though the council's power meant nothing. The dreadnought outside gave weight to every word. It floated calmly, silently, like a judge watching over the trial. The winged diplomat stood, feathers trembling. Do you think we are afraid of one ship? Do you think you can force the galaxy with a single monster? The human commander finally allowed a faint smile. Not of joy, not of mockery, of certainty. One ship, he said softly, is enough for now. The chamber shook with voices. Some shouted for unity against the humans. Others whispered that resistance was hopeless. The council was breaking before the talks even began. The elder raised his hand for silence again. But this time it did not come easily. Fear had already rooted itself in every corner of the chamber. The human commander continued. We did not come here to threaten. We came to remind you. Humanity will stand. Humanity will fight if forced. But humanity would prefer peace. Equal peace. Respect given for respect received. The words sounded fair. They sounded diplomatic. Yet none of the aliens believed they were truly a choice. The dreadnought outside gave them no room to refuse. For a long moment no one spoke. The chamber was filled only with the steady hum of the transmission. Then the elder finally answered. His voice was steady, but his heart was heavy. Then let us begin, human. Let us speak. If speaking is still possible. The human commander nodded once. Then the hologram flickered, and his image vanished. The silence afterward was colder than before. The aliens looked at each other, seeing their own fear mirrored in every face. Negotiations had begun, but already they felt like they were collapsing. And outside, the dreadnought waited, patient and merciless, like a dark star holding the galaxy in its grip. The Dreadnought floated silently outside the Council's chamber, but silence did not mean weakness. Silence was its weapon. Every alien who looked at it felt the same thought creep into their mind. What else are they hiding? Rumors spread faster than light across the fleets. Crew members whispered in hushed tones, exchanging wild theories. Some said the Dreadnought carried weapons no one had ever seen before. Others swore it could open rifts in space and vanish at will. Many believed it was not only a warship, but a moving city, carrying millions of humans within its steel heart. Inside the council chamber, tension thickened like smoke. The negotiations had barely begun, yet already cracks showed in the alliance of alien empires. Some leaders wanted to push forward, demand the humans reveal the truth. Others wanted to retreat, claiming peace was impossible under the shadow of such a weapon. The elder raised his voice. If we fear shadows, then the humans have already won. We must know what lies inside that monster. We must uncover its secrets. And so they turned to their spies. Hidden among the fleets were reconnaissance ships, their scanners tuned to pierce armor and shields. One by one, they focused on the Dreadnought, searching for weaknesses. Their data streamed into the council chamber, and a massive hologram began to form above the table. The Dreadnought's interior glowed in red outlines. Each section revealed something more terrifying than the last. The first scans showed factories. Not just rooms for repairs, but full production lines. The ship could build its own weapons, repair itself endlessly, and even create new drones for battle. The second scans revealed hangar bays. But these were not ordinary bays. They stretched miles long, filled with smaller warships waiting in silence. Each of those ships was powerful enough to rival a destroyer. The Dreadnought was not one ship. It was an entire fleet hidden within steel walls. Gasps filled the chamber. This is not a vessel, one diplomat whispered. It is an empire, floating on engines. But the scans did not stop there. At the core of the Dreadnought pulsed something strange, something none of their computers could understand. It looked like a storm frozen in place, a swirling mass of energy locked inside containment fields. What is that? Demanded the winged diplomat, her feathers trembling. The technician hesitated. Our instruments suggest it is a singularity reactor, a captured black hole used as fuel. The chamber erupted in chaos. Impossible! Madness! No species would dare. But the truth was undeniable. Only humans would dare. Only humans would chain a black hole to power their ship. The elder stared at the hologram, his voice heavy. This explains everything. This is why their ship does not need supply lines. This is why they do not fear long wars. Their power is endless, because they have captured the heart of the universe itself. Fear spread like fire through the room. The Dreadnought was no longer just a warship in their minds. It was a symbol that humanity had crossed lines no other species would even approach. Some diplomats tried to stay strong. They cannot control it forever. One day it will destroy them. But others shook their heads. Perhaps. But before it destroys them, it will destroy us. The human Dreadnought outside continued to drift in silence, unaware, or perhaps very aware, that every alien eye was studying it. It did not move. It did not fire. It simply existed, and its existence alone was enough to fracture the courage of entire civilizations. The elder spoke once more, his tone grim. Now you see. This is why negotiations are already failing. They did not bring us a ship. They brought us a shadow big enough to swallow every empire here. Whispers turned into quiet fear. Every representative thought of their own worlds, their people, their fleets. How long would they last if this ship turned its guns on them? For the first time, some of them wished peace could last. But peace under the human's shadow was no peace at all. It was submission disguised as safety. The chamber fell silent, each diplomat lost in thought. And outside, the Dreadnought waited patient, like a beast that knew its prey had already accepted defeat. The secrets of the monster ship had been revealed, and those secrets were worse than anyone had feared. The negotiations were supposed to be a chance for peace. But peace was already breaking under the weight of the human dreadnought. Inside the council chamber, the air felt heavy. The holograms of the ship's secrets still glowed above the table. Factories, hidden fleets, and the black hole reactor that made even the bravest leaders tremble. Every alien tried to hide their fear, but their eyes betrayed the truth. The human commander appeared again, his hologram steady and sharp. He looked calm, as if none of the shouting, none of the fear in the chamber mattered. Behind his silence was the presence of the dreadnought, a shadow pressing down on every mind. The elder rose slowly, his voice heavy but strong. Human commander, you claim to seek peace. Yet your ship is no messenger of peace. It is a weapon of war. Why should we trust your words? The human commander did not blink. His voice was cold, calm, unshaken. Because we have nothing to gain from your destruction. Humanity does not come here to beg. We come to declare. We will not kneel to your counsel. We will not let Earth be treated as a lesser world. We stand equal or we stand apart. The chamber erupted into noise. Arrogant. Insulting. They threaten us openly. Some slammed their fists on the table. Others shouted for silence. The council had survived centuries of conflict, but never had they been spoken to like this. The humans were not asking for permission. They were demanding respect. The winged diplomat rose, her feathers trembling with rage. If you think you can frighten us into bending, you are wrong. This council does not bow to shadows. The human commander's faint smile returned. Not cruel, not mocking, simply certain. Then perhaps your council does not understand shadows. A shadow exists because there is light behind it. And Earth has a fire that will not be put out. The words struck harder than any weapon. The chamber grew silent again. One of the younger ambassadors, desperate to save the talks, leaned forward. Then what do you propose, human? What terms will bring peace between us? For a moment, hope flickered. Maybe there was still a path forward. Maybe the humans would show compromise. But the human commander's answer shattered that hope. No terms, he said firmly. Only respect. Treat us as equals and we will be allies. Treat us as servants, and we will not serve. Try to chain us and the chains will break. This is not negotiation, it is choice. Yours. The silence that followed was suffocating. Every alien in the room understood. There was no middle ground. The humans had placed their terms, and those terms were absolute. The elder tried one last time. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed exhaustion. And if we refuse? If we say humanity is not yet ready to sit among the great powers? The human commander's face hardened. The hologram shimmered as his voice dropped lower, almost like a growl. Then the galaxy will still remember this day. You will remember the ship outside your windows. You will remember what Earth can build. And you will wonder how long before the next dreadnought arrives. The chamber broke. Diplomats shouted over one another. Some called for war, others for retreat, others begged for silence. The fragile thread of negotiation snapped. The elder lowered his head. He did not need to speak. Everyone knew the talks had collapsed. Outside, as if sensing the moment, the dreadnought shifted. Its engines flared softly, and the hum of power spread across the fleets. Weapons charged, not firing, only glowing with deadly light. But that glow was enough. Every alien ship knew what it meant. One alien captain whispered, his voice trembling. They are not leaving. They are waiting for our mistake. The fleets readied themselves, shields rising, weapons locking onto the dreadnought. For the first time, warships of dozens of empires pointed their cannons at a single target. And yet, in their hearts, they knew the truth. Even together, they were not enough. Back in the chamber, the human commander's hologram faded. His last words echoed in the silence. Remember this day. Humanity does not kneel. And then he was gone. The aliens stared at each other, anger and fear mixing into something worse. Doubt. No empire wanted to fire first. No empire wanted to admit weakness. The galaxy had come seeking peace and left standing on the edge of war. The The talks had not ended with signatures or promises. They had ended with silence, shadows, and the hum of a monster ship that reminded everyone of the same truth. The age of negotiations was over. The age of fear had begun. The negotiations were over, shattered like glass dropped on stone. What remained in the silent chamber was not peace, not agreement, only fear. And outside, the dreadnought still drifted, dark and endless, like a wall across the stars. Across the fleets, alien captains watched their screens with unease. Their weapons were armed, their shields raised, yet none dared to fire first. Every eye was on the human ship. Every hand trembled above the trigger. The dreadnought moved. Slowly, with deliberate purpose, it shifted in orbit. Its engines burned softly, painting the void in silver fire. The movement was small, but the message was clear. It was not retreating. It was positioning. One alien captain whispered what many were already thinking. They are drawing a line. The dreadnought stopped in place, its massive hull blocking the path deeper into the system. Behind it lay the route toward human-controlled space. It was no longer a ship, it was a gate. A barrier that said, "Cross this line and face Earth's wrath." In the council chamber, panic broke through once more. "This is war," shouted the lizard-skinned ambassador. "They dare to block the stars from us." "No," another argued, his voice shaking. "This is not war. This is warning. They are showing us the cost of crossing them." The elder leaned heavily on his staff. His voice was steady, though his heart pounded. "It is more than warning. It is challenge. The humans are telling us, the galaxy is no longer yours alone." The words hung in the air like smoke. Suddenly, the dreadnought's side lit up. Rows of cannons glowed with restrained energy. A deep hum rolled across the void, shaking every ship's sensors. It was not an attack, it was a demonstration. The dreadnought was alive, awake, ready to kill at a moment's notice. In one alien fleet, a young officer trembled. "Sir, if they fire, we are finished." His captain nodded grimly. "If they fire, all of us are finished." Yet still, no one fired first. Every empire knew that to start this battle would mean the end of fleets, the end of worlds. And though each hated the humans for their arrogance, fear chained their hands. Back in the chamber, the human commander's voice returned one last time. "You came to speak of peace," he said calmly. "But you forgot peace is built on balance. You thought yourselves higher. You believed Earth would beg. You were wrong." The hologram of the commander leaned forward, eyes cold, words heavy. "This line you see outside, this is where humanity stands. Beyond it, no step will be taken against us. Cross it and you will not face diplomats. You will face fire." The chamber froze. Not one ambassador could answer. Some lowered their eyes in shame. Others clenched their jaws in fury. But none dared to challenge the man's words. The dreadnought outside glowed brighter. Its shadow stretched across the fleets, pressing into every mind. Even the stars beyond seemed dimmer, hidden by its black steel frame. It was no longer just a ship. It was the line in the stars, drawn by human hands, etched into the galaxy itself. The elder closed his eyes, his voice barely a whisper. "It is done. Negotiations are no more. Now the galaxy must choose, to live in the shadow of Earth or burn in its fire." His words spread through the chamber, and for the first time in centuries, the mighty council felt powerless. Their fleets surrounded the dreadnought, but they no longer felt like masters of the galaxy. They felt like prey. Outside, one alien captain broke the silence of his bridge. "We cannot win against this. Not today. Not tomorrow. Perhaps not ever." And still the dreadnought waited. Its cannons glowed, but it did not fire. It had no need to. The silence was louder than destruction. Its presence was stronger than any fleet. The aliens had sought to control the humans. Instead, they had been forced to face them as equals or as enemies. The line had been drawn, and no one could erase it. As the dreadnought stood firm in the void, the galaxy trembled. For the first time, the council knew the truth. The The stars no longer belonged to them alone. The galaxy would never forget that day. The human dreadnought hung motionless in the void, its black hull stretching across the stars like a scar. The alien fleets that had gathered to show power now floated in silence. Their guns still aimed, but their courage gone. Not a single captain gave the order to fire. Not a single empire dared to test the line humanity had drawn. Inside the council chamber, the weight of failure pressed on every diplomat. They had come to tame the humans, to put Earth in its place. Instead, they had been shown a monster ship that no one could stand against. The negotiations had collapsed not because of words, but because of fear. The human commander's last message still echoed in their ears. Humanity does not kneel. Cross the line and you will face fire. The elder of the council sat in silence. He had seen many empires rise and fall, but never like this. Humanity was young, yet already they carried themselves not as beggars, but as equals, no, as something greater. They had come with no allies, no favors to ask, no tribute to offer. They had come only with strength, and strength was enough. One diplomat broke the silence. His voice trembled. "What have we allowed into our galaxy?" Another answered bitterly. "Not a guest, not a servant. We have allowed a rival, perhaps even a master." Their words were bitter, but they were true. The dreadnought remained silent, its weapons glowing faintly as if watching, waiting. It did not need to destroy anything. It had already won. Its victory was not measured in battles, but in the whispers spreading across every ship, every council, every corner of the galaxy. Already, messages were leaving the system. Spies carried tales back to their homeworlds. Traders would repeat stories in marketplaces. Soldiers would speak of shadows too large to escape. By the time the next sunrise touched alien skies, every empire would know. Humanity had drawn a line across the stars. On one alien flagship, a young officer whispered to his commander, "Is this the beginning of war?" The commander shook his head slowly. "No, this is worse. This is the beginning of respect built on fear." And he was right. For centuries, the great empires had ruled with arrogance. They had treated weaker races as tools or prey. They had believed themselves untouchable. But the dreadnought shattered that illusion. Now, when rulers spoke in their halls, they would lower their voices at the mention of Earth. Now, when generals planned their wars, they would ask themselves, what if the humans come? The name of humanity had become more than a word. It had become a shadow, stretching long and dark across the galaxy. In the chamber, the elder finally stood, his voice soft but carrying weight. "Remember this day, not because the humans threatened us, but because we feared them without a single shot fired. Their strength is not only in steel, but in the silence they leave behind." No one argued. No one denied it. The truth was carved too deeply into their minds. Far outside, the dreadnought shifted once more. Its engines flared, and slowly it began to turn. It did not chase. It did not demand surrender. It simply turned away, as if declaring the meeting finished. The fleets held their breath as the giant ship moved past them, its shadow sliding over their hulls. Not a single alien dared to block its path. The dreadnought left as it had arrived, calm, deliberate, unstoppable. And when it vanished into the void, it left behind not peace, not war, but silence. A silence heavier than destruction. Because in that silence, the galaxy realized something terrifying. This was only one ship. If humans could build one, they could build more. If they could hold one line, they could hold many. The dreadnought was not just a monster, it was a message written in fear. From that day forward, every empire remembered the shadow that had fallen across their stars. They remembered the negotiations that ended before they began. They remembered the human commander's words, "Humanity does not kneel." And so, when future councils gathered, when rulers spoke of alliances, when soldiers planned their battles, one question always came first. What will humanity do? The galaxy had seen the first contact. The galaxy had seen the monster ship. And the galaxy would never forget. Because on that day, across every star, across every world, one truth had been carved into history. Humanity's name was written in fear.